queers and gentle queers and retards of all ages. How's it going? So guys, we are here, and it appears that Astartes 2 official teaser trailer, something having to do with Warhammer Plus, has come out. Before we get into this, do remember to, if you are fed up with wokeness in our media and wokeness in our storytelling, pick up my books, Charles Arlington, on Amazon. That is why I do this channel. And especially if you guys want me to continue doing what I'm doing here, then I would definitely appreciate it. So anyways, let's check it out. Oh, that's cool. Well, all right. I have no idea what that's. Is this a movie? Is this a game? I don't know. Okay, it's yeah. I don't know. Well, it looks cool. I mean, and it captures the vibe of Warhammer. Great. The only thing being done well right now is Warhammer. And let's just be honest. How many women actually give a crap about Warhammer? Let's just be honest. How many women? The only women that care are washed up. And it's really only because they talk to dudes. And yeah, I mean, that's the reason why. There's no woman that's actually authentically into this. It's only by proxy because of men. So, I mean, this looks great. And again, I think that one of the only reasons why Warhammer has not been torn to shreds by the woke, even though they've tried quite a bit, but not as easily as with other properties and franchises. I mean, and that's it's simply because of how masculine Warhammer is. Everything about it. I mean, geez, I don't know how a woman can sit down and be like, oh, I can't wait to read my next Warhammer novel. It's, oh wow, he tore his head off his neck. Okay, cool. I just don't know what woman's just rubbing it out to this. I don't know. I don't know. And if she has triple G breasts, call me. But anyways, yeah. Maybe don't call me, actually. There might be problems with that female. Anyways, yeah, so, you know, it looks good. Here, let me mute it and we can just play it again. But, yeah, so it looks good. Good graphical appeal to all this. It looks awesome. Now, I don't like one thing about this, which is that it's super dystopian, nihilistic. And that's one of my biggest issues with stuff like this. It's like, I'm just so sick and tired of, like, you know, this theme around anything that we make, whether it's woke or not exactly woke, even if it's this like awesome war stuff like this. And I love the war element of Warhammer and all that. I mean, this is just, it's awesome. But I don't like the nihilistic aspect because it's not really a future that you hope for or dream for. And it's not like in the liberal sense, like you're like libtard retards. I'm talking, man, I mean, these guys look awesome though. But it's just like the only purpose of this future is death, which is just, again, like it's cool as a creative idea, but it's just, it lacks any kind of, I think, enlightened ideal. And I'm hoping that we have good storylines with all this. I don't know if there's good stories in Warhammer. I really don't. I just feel like it's cool looking okay, so dudes in cool looking suits of armor. Maybe they're cool looking dudes, I don't know. Anyways, just the suits of armor though. It's just dudes in cool looking suits of armor blasting through different types of beasts and monsters and creatures. But I don't really know if there's much. I mean, dude, you can make some awesome stories, by the way. I've made some stuff that is actually in vicinity to this stories. One of them, I made a short story. Like it was like 2 or 3 pages. I wrote a little short story that was actually, you can pick it up. It's in the it's in the lexicon of odds and tales. That there's a lot more I have to release for that book, but because it's a compendium of my other short stories. But I made a short story that's actually in close proximity to Space Marines without even really trying, but I did that anyways. And there's so many cool things that you can do with Space Marines. There's so many cool storylines that you could craft with this universe, with this set piece, with these themes and these concepts. By the way, if you want to know, what's the name? What's the name of my short story though? It's the 4th one, okay? Again, I need to release a lot more for that book, so it's very short right now. It's just, I've been busy with so many other things, but I will be adding more to it very soon. Regardless, you can pick it up and check it out. But there's some interesting weapon types, by the way, that I also explore in that short story. Basically, it's a ball effigy. What did I call it when I was writing it? I called it something. I think it's an iron effigy is what I called it. So anyways, what happens is that you fire a hook from your weapon into a creature, and then it, in a star-like pattern, as I remember it, it bursts out and it basically shreds the body in all the directions of the metal moving out, and it expands out like a net, but a ball. And then basically on the inside of the ball is the corpse that you shot into. And then you sling, because it's a hook, you sling the ball with your gun, the iron effigy. So, and then there's other properties to the effigy itself, because it's a piece of technology. So anyways, it was pretty cool. And I don't know, ever since writing that short story, I was kind of sitting there. I mean, there's so many things I want to write. So it's like, what the frick? But I mean, I don't know exactly what to focus on first. But yeah, I mean, ever since writing that, I've been kind of sitting back thinking to myself, because then there's other things about that short story that's also pretty cool. I explore a really weird type of villain without even trying, by the way. I didn't even try, but I wrote down a very compelling villain, and I was like, whoa. Oh man, it was cool. I'm thinking about it right now. I might actually go back and reread it. I'm actually thinking about doing that right now. But like, I ever since I finished writing that, I was like, I might actually want to make an entire book on this. It was really cool. It was really cool. So I might do it. I don't know. But I would need to pick it back up, reread it, and then I would need to reorganize my thoughts, because it's been a long time since I wrote that. I think it's been like a year plus now. Because again, I'm just working on a bunch of freaking crap, so I need to get back around to it. But yeah, I mean, it was super cool. And when I stepped away from writing it, I was like, that would be really cool to make as a book. So I might make a full-fledged book. I don't know if standalone or series yet, but I might do it because it was really cool. And when I was writing it and I finished it, man, I was thinking about it. Because, dude, the villain character was really compelling. There was something so interesting about the whole setup I made for, again, you can go read it if you actually want to know what it's all about. I mean, they're invading a spaceship, or I guess a star cruiser or whatever in the sky. And I guess I'll leave it there. The characters in the book. And it was man, it's just, I don't know, just looking back, man, I don't know where I would go with all of it, but it's like I don't know, because there's so many ways you can go. Like, right, you could do a contained story, but you could also do a very expansive story. And I'm just thinking to myself, would I do a bunch of contained stories or would I do one expansive story? I'm wondering. Because then if I did a bunch of contained stories, that could be a series. And then maybe I could do one final expansive kind of scale story for the end of the series. I could maybe do something like that. I don't know yet, because I would have to think about exactly where I would go with everything. Just the general gist and vibe of it all. But anyway, I had that one short story. It really captured my imagination when I wrote it down. And I totally did not intend for it to go in any of the directions it happened to go in. And when I finished it, I was just like, dang, this might be really cool to do. Just like in general, make an entire series or standalone book on it. So I'm thinking about it right now. And after seeing this, it just reminds me of that. And I'm like, oh, wow, maybe I should just, again, think about that twice and maybe actually do it. So I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about that. Anyways, guys, this looks cool. But, when I see something like this, it just makes me think of like, what if we actually had a really substantive story? Like, I'm seeing cool dudes in armor. Okay. Cool dudes in, cool. Okay. Just, you get what I mean by it. Technically, it's just dudes in cool armor, but I'm just going to say cool dudes. So it's cool dudes in armor, right? And like, even though you look at this and it's like, oh, it's so cool. I love it. There's no character behind any of this. That's a problem. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this dude? I don't know who this dude is. But that's the thing, is that Warhammer has really cool and good iconography, symbolism, themes that you can work off of if you make proper stories within this universe. And I have no idea how good the actual books are for this universe, by the way. I have no idea. I mean, so far, I just know from the video games have dog trash stories. So I don't know if they're just showing bad respect, or I'm sorry, they're showing massive disrespect to the authors of the Warhammer universe. And like, there's a bunch of cool storylines that we could be following, but they're just deciding not to. I don't know if that's going on, or I have no idea. But, I just imagine like if we actually got awesome storylines for Warhammer where you see a dude in armor and you're like, oh, it's that freaking guy from that story, that specific game, book, movie, whatever. If there's a character you can look at and say, that's mother effing Obi-Wan, right? That's mother effing Yoda. A great story is capable of making a character, right? And that's why today we know about characters like Frodo, right? A great story made Frodo. By the way, without a doubt, Lord of the Rings the books themselves are really not that impressive. They're not as spectacular. The books, they're nothing as spectacular as the movies. So I think a lot of people, and this is what happens with a lot of things. People allow other people to overhype other properties and products for them. So a lot of people, for instance, a lot of people think that Thrawn is like a super genius, awesome character. If you pick up and read the books, you'll be like, what the frick? I mean, unless you're a retard, but if you got a semblance of intelligence, then you'll sit there and be like, people are jerking off this character. Why? And people are jerking off these books. Why? Like, this is rehashed. Again, you can go check out my videos where I discuss it. It's freaking retarded nonsense. The books suck, okay? Thrawn sucks. The idea of Thrawn is cool, but Timothy Zahn's execution of Thrawn is absolute nonsense. So before I go into an entire rant about Thrawn trilogy again, after this is like the 6th time, like this is the number one thing I hate on this channel is the Thrawn trilogy more than anything else. It's proto woke. It's a bunch of freaking nonsense. Screw that trilogy. F yourself. Anyways, 1 second. Anyway, if we actually got a proper cool story though, and like I mean it, because any great story makes a character. You remember Han Solo, you remember Luke Skywalker because of a great story. You remember Anakin because of a great story. You remember so many characters because of a great story. If we get a proper story in the Warhammer universe where people actually recognize a character, again, like, okay, I'm not gonna rant on freaking Lord of the Rings, but listen, man, it's not that impressive. The books are not that impressive of a story. Now, I don't want to trash on Tolkien. I respect him. I respect his work. I'm just saying that people overblow how good it is. And I think it's because either people didn't read his books or maybe they allowed their own creativity, or air quotes on whatever they wanted Lord of the Rings to be when they were reading it. They were thinking of something else as they were reading it. But it's a lot of walking and talking. There's cool moments ish, but like most of everything is actually not that cool. So after I read Lord of the Rings, I was like, I mean, listen, I appreciate people liking it. It's okay. It's not bad, but it's like, it's just, and I also read the Odyssey and I was like, why are people so crazy about this? Like, I don't know. Like, people overblow really generic stuff. I'm going to be honest. There's cool stuff out there. Yeah. But like, people, you know, the thing I don't understand? There's a lot of storytellers out there. They don't know the proper synergy between action and substantive storytelling. Like H.P. Lovecraft is a guy, he makes a really in-depth story. And he makes an entire character out of so many. He creates the religion of the Cthulhian mythos in his work, which is really cool. But it's like, there's no action, there's no pizzazz with his stories. It's just ideas, it's just concepts, it's just the exploration of these otherworldly things. But there's really nothing spectacular going on. So like, I just think to myself, it's like, it's so weird because you don't have any writers that understand a good mixture of spectacle, but also substance, right? And having proper philosophy and proper ideas explored in their creative works. It's so like, so here's the problem, right? Because you look at a guy like H.P. Lovecraft and he's all about substance, but very low spectacle. But then you look at a guy like Tolkien and it's all substance for the most part. A little bit too flowery also at the same time. There's a lot of fluff in there, let's just be honest, which is okay. It's just that, again, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of all the fluff in the books, but and I also read the Silmarillion, and that also has a lot of fluff. Like, I constantly space out when I'm reading Tolkien. I'm like, by the way, I do need to make review videos on those, but anyways, it's been a while. But like, there's so much there's so much fluff in all of Tolkien's stuff where I space out like every second because it's just like he's defining everything but it's like, why does this matter? Because like what a thing is does not matter without a proper relevance, and a proper relevance comes from having a proper narrative to follow. If a character does not fundamentally mean anything, but they exist fictionally, then the story means nothing. And that's the issue, for one, with the Silmarillion. There's a bunch of characters, places, and things, but they don't mean anything because it's like, well, okay, this guy, and he has a wife here and kids there, but like, where's the story? There's really no story to the Silmarillion. Like, literally, no story at all. It's just like a detailing of events. But again, without a proper narrative, it's not that good. You need proper storytelling, proper characterization to make characters actually stand out. I can't remember anyone from the Silmarillion. I can't remember anyone. There's not one character I remember. It is a story. I remember Numenorians and blah, blah, blah. None of it meant really anything. And that's the problem, is that it's a bunch of fluff. It's a bunch of flowery nonsense, but there's no narrative to it. So, like world building means nothing without character, right? Gotham City, for instance, in Batman is a character. Gotham is Batman, but it's also Penguin. It's also Joker. It's also the people, and them relying on Batman and being victims to the villains of Gotham. Gotham's an entire character. It's a city at war, right? But it's a city where the spirit of the city itself is at war. Corruption, right? Corruption being represented through the villains, basically speaking, but also some other characters who are neutral parties kind of profiting off of Gotham's conflict. But then you also have Batman, who's the man that is trying to redeem Gotham from its corruption. So it's just like the latent ideas of Gotham makes Gotham an amazing character to follow throughout Batman's stories. It's really good. And oh man, and that's the problem. So that's the problem. That's the problem when we look at, one second. I need freaking water. F my life. That is the problem when we look at the Warhammer universe, is that there's no one character you look at and you're like, that is Warhammer. There's not one character that makes you think of the property. It's a man in an awesome suit of armor. That's what makes you think of the property. But when I look at the Warhammer universe and I think back to the short story that I made, it's like, bro, like I just think back to the villain that I explore in my short story. And I think to myself, holy mother effing crap. Like, you follow a proper villain, proper characters, proper main characters, protagonists, men. You can make some really good stories in the Warhammer universe. You could give Warhammer a face as a property, as an IP. And when I think about Warhammer right now, there is no face for Warhammer because all the products they have come out with are really generic storylines. So if there's just that one dude that sits down and makes a proper Warhammer story, and right now I'm sitting here and I can think of like multiple proper Warhammer stories, then you've got an IP that can go at full maximum volume. This is an IP that can go really far. And right now, I don't know if there's good books for the Warhammer universe. I don't know if the books are really just riding on a cool idea, but not really great characterization and storytelling. I don't know if that's the case with Warhammer, because I'm going to guess that might be what it is, because, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of questions with it, because why haven't they gotten any movies yet? It's just, I have a lot of questions with Warhammer, but if they do have great characters in the Warhammer universe, and I mean actual good characters, not, oh, Thrawn's super good, and then he turns out to be a cuck all throughout the Thrawn trilogy. I'm talking about proper great characters. Then, I mean, I would love to know who they are. And then I would love for these people to actually finally sit down, buckle in, and faithfully tell the good stories from the Warhammer universe. But right now, they've made a bunch of games, and it's just so sad because we don't have great Warhammer characters yet. So we have cool vistas, we have cool locations, we have dudes in cool suits of armor, wrecking cool beasts and whatnot, but we just don't have the substance yet. We have all the spectacle, but we don't have substance, and that's what I'm talking about here. You look at a guy like Tolkien, you look at a guy like H.P. Lovecraft, and they're more substance than they are spectacle. But because of that, we don't have the spectacle, right? And a great story always has this is why, by the way, people love Star Wars. Why? Because Star Wars, especially going into the prequels, we had a perfect confluence of spectacle and substantive storytelling. That's why Star Wars is so special. And so many people love Star Wars, even though it's been pillaged. Get this. Kathleen Kennedy killed Star Wars, but get this. Star Wars can always come back. At least for right now, until maybe something better comes along. But let's just be honest. The dream of Star Wars is still there. People still love Star Wars. They're just thirsty and hungry for a good story. If you do a proper story within Star Wars, you can always revitalize it. No matter who kills it, Star Wars can always come back through proper storytelling. It's just that simple. But and again, like George, he did a great job of delivering the fantasy of Star Wars because he had both substance and spectacle. It's so amazing to me how so many people want to trash on him, because I'm just going to say it. George and the people that he worked with, they were freaking geniuses. I don't care who the frick says otherwise. You're a freaking retard. He made the best stuff that's out there. The fact that he captured so many people with an amazing story, both the prequels and the originals, and then you look at all the spectacle, and it only gets better as the films go on, and I wish all the films were Revenge of the Sith. So many great things there, just great combat, great space battles. Everything was awesome in Revenge of the Sith. The story was awesome. The combat, the conflict, all of it was awesome. All the spectacle was brought up to the highest degree. They did. You want to look at modern Shakespeare, and it was the freaking prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith. That was awesome, really good. But there's just so many ideas in the movies, and so you look at the originals and you look at the prequels, and you're just being shown a proper story with substance plus the confluence of spectacle. And right now, this is the issue with Warhammer. It is sitting on the precipice that all it has right now is spectacle. But if you properly utilize all of the spectacle to make a substantive story, then this is a franchise. I could see this going really far. And I mean further than Halo, further than anything else. Warhammer has the potential to be a military war fiction that has the relevance like Star Wars. Just, it's more geared for men. Well, I mean, Star Wars is also geared for men, but you get the point. Like, this is really made for men. Like, this is like Star Wars was the girls are definitely not meant to be in here. Get out. But like Warhammer is like, you are literally transitioning as a woman if you are into Warhammer. Like, women can get into the treehouse of Star Wars and like mostly get by, but like if a woman enters the treehouse of freaking Warhammer, you're a man now. You transitioned. There is no freaking female anymore. You're a freaking dude. Yeah. So that's the thing with Warhammer. Like, it has the potential to really blast off into the sunset. There's a lot of things you can do with it because, one thing with Warhammer is that you can get away with. There's a confluence of Warhammer and Eldritch ideas. So H.P. Lovecraft and everything surrounding around Cthulhian concepts. And I don't mean it in the way that other people think it. There's a perfect synergy that you can have with the Warhammer universe. with Cthulhian concepts, but also all these power armor, and there's just so much that you can do. So many different storylines. There's just a lot that you can go with. If you get proper storytellers for the Warhammer universe, you can really go far. And with these themes and these ideas, and with that, you can finally one day turn this property that is right now only exists as an idea, and you can turn it into a character with a face to the property. And once we actually do that, if someone actually does it, and I don't know what I would write for Warhammer yet, because I haven't actually sat down and done it, but regardless, if someone actually does it though, oh man, there's so much you can do with this, man. There's so much you can do with this. Man. So again, if you find out a way to turn this franchise into a character, that's when they've definitely, because that means they've gone as far as to not only have spectacle, but now also have substance. And once you have that synergy, dude, I mean, Warhammer will be an unstoppable juggernaut, I would say, of a franchise for men, and transitioning females. You know, JK, by the way, JK on that, but you get what I mean. This is a property that has a lot of potential, lots of potential. And when I see stuff like this, they do it all right, and you can go really far. But again, I don't like everything being massively dystopian and nihilistic. I don't like that. But again, just do a proper mixture of everything, proper story with all this spectacle. So when I say a proper story, it's not completely nihilistic, but it still captures the spirit of this trailer here, right? Get the spirit of this trailer, but with a story that isn't super nihilistic. Has an underlying kind of redemptive theme, and you can go really far with the Warhammer property.